All right, welcome everybody. We had some technical difficulties today. Maybe we didn't have enough coffee in our mugs. We were holding out for today's show. Tito, oh man, what
Yeah,
kind
this
of
one is empty already.
Yeah,
empty?
mine. This is not what I drank out of this morning.
Almost broke it.
I drink from the light side. So
A blonde roast, huh? Instead of the dark
yeah,
roast.
yeah.
Nice, nice, awesome. All right, guys. So my name's Andrew Kim. Welcome to Transform Tuesdays. This is a show that we do every Tuesdays around data transformation, and we talk about different techniques with data transformation and different tools for data transformation. And today we have on Tito and Eric. Tito, you want to give a brief introduction and share what your favorite coffee is, since
Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah.
coffee today?
Yep. My name is Tito Mogus. I'm a trainer on the data meeting enablement team. I am a favorite. My favorite would probably be soy or oat milk latte with sugar-free vanilla. I just like
Nice.
that flavor. A little bit. My wife makes fun of me. She said that I don't like coffee, that I like coffee flavored candy, which I do. So then the type of drink that I get tastes like candy. It's okay.
So Tito, are you a whip or no whip guy on top then?
I am a no whip guy, but it's because I'm lactose intolerant. So
Yeah,
that's why I
they
went
don't
with
have the
soy.
soy whip yet, right? You need to place
Yeah,
with some soy whip.
no. Yeah, I
Oh,
haven't. We don't
really?
have that here.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that one.
yeah. Eric, what about you?
Hi, my name is Eric Chino. I'm a manager of the enablement team. I've been working with analytics for a very long time already, and including the data transformation and data visualization. I prefer brewed coffee, just just black coffee, and no whip.
No whip.
No whip.
Okay. Any sugar? Do you take any sugar in there?
I prefer it without sugar, but sometimes when it's too strong and you get the bitter part of the coffee, I would put just a little bit.
So for you, it's all about the good beans then, right?
Yeah,
If they're
it's
good
just good
beans and it's
coffee. It's great. Yeah.
yeah.
In the morning, I do a lot of I feel this one, and but then
Yeah.
later when I finish that too early, then I go with the espressos.
Yeah.
But this
Man, and you
one,
already finished that one too.
yeah, well, those are too small.
And Aaron's saying just black and no sugar, crazy.
Yeah,
So
Sounds like
just give
heartburn
me
to
the
me.
coffee.
yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of all over the place, so I'll do crazy things. So like if you've ever had a Thai coffee, right, or a tiger
Ooh,
tea, that's
yeah.
really good. Like they basically it's like cold brew. So Eric, it's almost like
Uh-huh.
an espresso, but it's bigger.
Oh,
And
I see.
then the other thing that like my kick right now is called a dirty chai, which which that's like a chai tea mixed with some coffee. So I'll
Really?
do all kinds
Uh-huh.
of crazy
Wow.
things like that where you can kind of brew it together. And yeah, I want to, it's the ritual of making the coffee that's exciting. And then
Uh-huh.
yeah, whatever it goes in, like, oh man, she took it away. We actually have little spoons that are made from coffee wood, and then it's got
Oh,
like a nice little end, like makes it beautiful, right? Like you're like,
wow.
Oh, I
ah, that's
see.
so enjoyable, right?
Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
that's deep, man.
that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to talk about transformation within the coffee industry, right? Because we've got Eric who has to find like the perfect coffee beans, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
Tito, you're like, make it fancy. I want to
Yeah.
see some.
Make it
Make
fancy.
it
Make
fancy and
give me
sweet and not
experience.
acidic.
Exactly, exactly. Awesome, awesome. Yeah.
Brandon.
So, oh my gosh, and we got tons of people coming in here. So, dad joke, spill coffee on a dress shirt. Now I'm wearing a tie today. Ooh, that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Brandon, I'm gonna have to take that one. That one's really good. Awesome.
Dad jokes last week. Come on.
I know. I know. Hey, the themes live on.
Yep.
So, who wants to go first today? Tito, Eric?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first.
Awesome.
All right. So can everybody
See.
see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So what I did was I just Googled coffee API because I wanted to see what kind of things that I could access. And so using this really simple API call, I am actually pulling in data about different coffee drinks. And there's some things that I've never heard of, right? So I am, I don't know. I'm not really like a coffee connoisseur like Eric who like wants to take. I bet when you smell it or when you taste it, you're like, oh yes, the man who picked these was like 5'8" and he's 40 years old. Yeah, whatever. I just want something that tastes like coffee, smells like coffee, but then also tastes like candy. Probably why
Is
why
that so
Chucky.
much to ask, right?
Interesting.
I know, right? So anyway, you go to any of these coffee places and then you hear people's orders, right? And you're like, "Holy cow, where did you even come up with that?" So this API call actually pulls back some ingredients, not like specific ingredients, but generally like, "Oh, this thing has espresso and water. That's an americano. My wife likes that. My wife is an americana." Anyway, so it also pulls back. I didn't know what an affogato is, right? And
Oh
so
my gosh, I love affogatos.
there's
Yeah.
only one thing I did on here that makes it um, so that a user can do something with it, and I gave them a drop down menu based on the values that we get back, all these the names of the drinks and stuff. So created an app and I saved it up to our Alteryx gallery, and I named it Coffee Ingredients and Descriptions. And yeah, all you can do here is go, okay, what is a flat white? And you run it, and then panic ensues because it's like me as a trainer. One thing that I cannot stand that happens to me just about every week is I'm showing somebody, hey, this is when you do this, this is what happens. And then it goes error. I'm like, oh. So anyway, no error today. Flat white. Here's the title. Here's the ingredients: espresso and steamed milk. And the description is it's an Aussie born drink, basically a cappuccino without the foam or chocolate sprinkle. And it's an espresso drink with steamed milk. If you wanted to save that somewhere, I gave you the option to save it however you wanted to save it, right?
Nice.
Uh, let's rerun it real quick. And there's something on here that I didn't know what it was until I asked OG. I was like, hey, you know what an affogato? He's like, oh, ice cream. So we have two Andrew Kims at data meeting. One has been here longer, so he is called OG, and this
Yeah.
is what he was talking about. The espresso, and it's not the Andrew Kim on this call. So it's an affogato is an excuse to enjoy a scoop of ice cream any time of day, any time of year, in my opinion, served with a scoop of ice cream and a shot of espresso or two.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I had never heard of that, and now I'm looking for that. Except I have to choose when I want to eat or drink that because I am lactose intolerant. So I have to, you kind of pick and choose your battles. It's like, do I want to feel bad today just because I wanted to drink, eat ice cream in
Oh,
my
I see.
espresso?
I see.
Yeah.
So that's the
You're
one,
doing a
right?
kind of risk and reward thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I'm over here going like this. I don't know. And then my wife is like, don't do it, because she's the one who suffers.
Yeah,
So
but can you have those pills for lactose?
yeah, but they only sort of work. They sort of work up to a
Oh,
certain
I
point,
see. I
and
see.
then they can be they can
It's
they
just
can
delaying,
work
right?
too well,
Yeah.
right? And I'll be like, oh, I got stomach aches, right?
Mm.
So Brandon Burns, hey, that's great. It's a good thing that so Brandon in the chat. So I know this guy, right? We used to live in the same area. He was stationed. He was in the Navy. He was stationed over here in Gulfport. He said Bankhouse Coffee. That's my favorite place in town here in Long Beach, Mississippi. It is an old bank, and it was the second Hancock Bank in this area, and they turned it into a coffee house, right? It's a coffee shop. So when you go in, you see all the brick and it's all bare. And then behind the counter and stuff where people make the coffees, if you go behind, there's a hallway that goes to the bathroom, and you'll actually pass the vault, and the vault is where they store their supplies now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they have one like that here. It's called the wine room, and like literally there's They put a bunch of like little personal vaults for wine, and then some of the local coffee shops are starting to kind of do the same thing. They've got, you'd think they'd have like some Kopi Luwak or something in there, right? All the
I don't drink
expensive.
that crap.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah, that's, if you don't know what that is, that's another one that you'll want to look up. So there's some crazy expensive coffee beans out there.
Yep. So this API call, you can actually make some changes in the URL to pull back some different things, but I chose not to do it. I actually spent all my time on a different API call. But here you see in the URL, it has that coffee/hot. If you change that to iced, it'll pull back 5 different iced, varieties of iced drinks, and it'll tell you what's in them.
Yeah.
But I
That's
actually,
nice.
yeah, I chose to go with a little bit more. There's a little bit more on this next one. So it's called Coffee and Donuts. I called it Coffee and Donuts because what goes well with coffee? The donuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
ask anybody, right? So I created a developer account on Yelp, and now I'm hitting Yelp, and you can actually there's probably 40 different things that you can add into the URL to pull back all this different stuff, right? And
Nice.
so instead of doing all those different things, I was like, well, I'm just going to change your search location so it's your city and your state, and then categories. I'm only allowing us to look for coffee and donuts. Also, you can choose how many records you want to see and the search radius up to 20 miles.
Mhm.
So I save this one also to our Alteryx gallery, and this is what it looks like: coffee and donuts. So I'll leave it on Long Beach. This is where I live, Long Beach, Mississippi. If you come knocking on my door, I'm gonna be like, "Wow, you watched me, and then you came to my door." I might have to call the police, but
It
I'm not gonna give
depends.
my
If
address.
we have to see what coffee shops you recommend, Tito. You could be drumming up business for the local coffee shops here.
That's true. I mean, they get pretty good business because we have a lot of we get a lot of tourist traffic coming from New Orleans. So down
Nice.
here on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, we're about, depending where you are, you're probably 45 minutes to an hour and a half away from New Orleans, and then
Yeah.
Mobile is in the opposite direction, right? So we get a lot of people who are from the quote unquote big city, New Orleans. And they come down here on the weekends, and they hit our coffee shops and stuff. So let's check out and see what's in Long Beach, Mississippi. And I'm gonna say, okay, let's look at the top 10, which is funny to me because we're not gonna get 10. If we do, guarantee you there'll be fast food on there.
Hmm.
So I'm going to set my search radius as 10. So that's going to pull in Gulfport and past Christian and maybe even Biloxi. And I'm going to hit
Nice.
run.
And are we going to see they have Cafe Du Monde or any of those?
No, Cafe Du Monde. It's a little bit further east
A little
or
bit
further
further.
west. So there's Bakehouse Coffee right there,
Nice.
126 Jeff Davis Avenue. So one of the cool things about this is like not only can you choose
Got the ratings.
the address or the city and the state and the categories, right? You can choose also the latitude and longitude. You can bring back the latitude and longitude, which is great if you have spatial tools, right? Using spatial tools, you can use calculate drive time. It's like, how long is it going to take me to get to Bank House from here? You can put in your address, and then using the street geocoder tool, it'll
Uh-huh.
give you the Latin long, or it'll give you a spatial object, centroid, and then you could calculate the drive time from your centroid, your home, to the business. But
Uh-huh.
an interesting thing here is that you can make it like, here's the thing that I was talking about. It just shows up
Got a
McDonald's, right?
McDonald's. Uh-huh.
Because they do serve coffee and tea. But do you really want to go there for coffee and tea when their rating is a 2? I don't know, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's consistently a 2, though. That's the
Yeah.
thing, Tito.
Rating a
You know
Oh
you
two.
yes.
can rely on
Oh yes. Oh yeah. So I mean, if I want coffee in a pinch, and since we live in a small town, Bankhouse Coffee doesn't open till like 7 o'clock, which is crazy,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I would have to drop by McDonald's, and I'd probably hate myself after
Yeah.
that.
Maybe you
Oh,
want a burger and then you would just wanna have coffee later.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, breakfast burrito and 99-cent coffee.
You know, burger
Or
first, then the coffee. It would
yeah,
work.
no, why not? But I have the just the basic API call for that Yelp just to show what it looks like when you run it. It doesn't take long; it's like a few seconds. But if you get a developer account with Yelp, you they say you can do the API call. You can hit it 5,000 times in a day, and then
Uh-huh.
that's
Nice.
it. That's your limit, right? And I'm like, holy moly! If you're using it for your personal use, if you're looking for coffee and donuts 5,000 times a day, you might have a problem. But if you share it with somebody, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, this is what it looks like when it comes back. After I use the JSON parse tool, it gives me these. I'm going to zoom in real quick, and so it gives me some. There's a number after businesses, and then some type of something after a dot and then a number. So what I did was I
Hmm.
just created. I made these into the IDs, right, to parse it out. This is I'm actually searching on Nashville. So if you're from Nashville or you've been to Nashville, people usually say crema is at the top. I used to live there. I would say it's toward the top for me too. But if you look at anything associated with crema in here, that ID number is going to be a 0. See a 0 right there. And the next thing that
Hmm.
comes up is Fido. It's not a dog. It's a coffee place. And then it's the 1, right? So I used that number to parse things out so that I could get all the information for each business staying together, right? Quarter
Mhm.
pounder and an almond latte at 7:35. Ooh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
What? That's so funny. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can just keep adding. You can just keep adding different things into the URL and changing how your user can interact with it. And then the more things you add for your UI, the more specific your query is going to be, and so then obviously your list is going to be a lot smaller at the end.
Yeah. So if you were doing that, like we talked a little bit about some different options, right? So maybe if you didn't just want to talk about coffee in the morning with coffee and donuts, right?
Mhm.
So let's say you missed it, or you had a fun night in New Orleans, right? So basically, what do you have with coffee in the afternoon? Is that something that you would want to see, like in terms of things that you would want to do going forward if you were maybe sharing this with some of your friends?
Oh yeah, you can actually change the URL. So another thing that you can add in there is open_now equals true or false, and then
Yes.
make that a radio button. It's like, okay, am I looking for something that's open now, or do I just in general want to know where which of these are coffee shops or donut shops? So when I
Nice.
get there on the weekend and I know I'm not going to be feeling great in the morning, I'll be able to get it in the morning.
Nice. Or if you're up really late, right?
Right?
Like
Yep.
Yeah.
Cafe Du Monde's the place to kind of stop, right? I think what time
Yep.
were we there? Like 2 in the morning, and they still got fresh beignets. So
So I
yeah.
wonder. I'm going to put in New Orleans, so I can put in lowercase. Oop, but I have to know how to spell it. And then it's not Mississippi, Louisiana. Sure, let's see 10. And let's look at coffee and or donuts.
Do
Let's do
beignets come up in the list? Is
Yeah, I don't know. I think let's look. Cafe du Monde. One thing that this thing doesn't like is the special characters. So there's a,
Hmm.
a thing over the E, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
what that
We
one
have
is.
that in Portuguese as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, on my coffee ingredients, coffee drinks and ingredients, one of them is a galao, right? Is that how you say it? It's a Portuguese drink. So if I look down here,
Which one was
is
that?
it right here?
Galon. Yeah,
Gallo.
I know
Okay,
that
see,
that
I
one
don't know
is
how to
hard
say it.
for you guys. I know.
So, so if I run,
That's.
yeah, if I run that, look, it's like
Oh, I
go
see.
something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
yeah. I thought
We
you were
do.
saying a gallon of coffee, Tito. I was like, that's
Oh
pretty
no.
aggressive.
Yeah. Just as
I'd
long
love
as
that.
wow, with a gallon of coffee, it would probably be a gallon of soy milk to go with it.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
Mm.
it's a lot.
Yep.
Awesome.
And you know
Yeah,
what? In Brazil, we make it stronger. We don't put so much water, so we don't have like those large Starbucks cups. Just
Oh.
something
it's like
smaller,
this.
like a tea, or even
Yeah, that's
smaller.
like the Cuban coffee. I mean,
Oh
down
yeah.
here
Oh,
you
I
got
think
the
so.
Cuban coffee. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean that you have to be careful. If you do two of those in a day, you're
Oh
going
yeah.
like this. You're a little
So
Wow.
shaky.
you wouldn't be drinking out of this guy, huh?
Oh no, no,
I'm used
it's
to that, but it could be too much for
Join
some
me.
people. Uh
Join
yeah.
me. We'll rule
huh.
the
Let
galaxy.
me see if I still have
It's
some.
father
No,
and son.
no. Mine is empty already.
yeah.
Maybe I should have two of them.
Two. Oh man. Yeah, Brandon, what a great idea. With um with a gallon of coffee, you shouldn't need to do the 5,000 searches.
No, that's true.
See?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
gotta take that approach. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think some.
I love this one. I would maybe in the first page when you make the selections, I
Hmm.
would make it. I would allow them to do the search, considering the driving distance. I believe
Oh
you made
yes.
it with the in the straight line.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes you might be close, but then you need to take a detour at the road, and it would be uh,
Oh, I
really
know.
far,
Yeah,
right?
when I lived in Nashville, I lived 30 miles from where I worked, and it would take me 35 minutes to get there. I had a friend who lived
Hmm.
in the opposite direction, and he lived like 5 miles away, and it took him an hour and a half to get to work. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah.
drive time is important.
I think something that I love on here is the fact that it has a number of reviews. I
Hmm.
almost rely on that more than I do the actual review
Mm,
it review
true.
itself. Yeah,
Right.
because like there's been so many small cities that we've gone into, like traveling, where they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best restaurant," and there's like 100 reviews, and you go there and you're like, "Oof, that was a rough meal," right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so whenever you see like, normally it's about 1,000. If I see over 1,000 reviews, I'm like, I feel pretty confident that I can trust it.
Right.
So
And then there's
yeah,
the whole thing, the conversation about, are those reviews genuine? Did somebody pay
yeah,
somebody to do those reviews?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
like a bot count, right? Is it
Right.
like was it all within a 1 week period, right? Maybe they were just giving away free coffee, and then everybody's like, "Yeah, 5 stars for free coffee." But if I had to pay $1 for this at McDonald's, right? Forget it. I'm gonna pay 5 for Starbucks
Uh-huh.
instead, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, maybe this could be the next level of this workflow. We could get some of those reveals, some of the
Yeah.
top and some of the bottom as well.
Hmm. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I love this, Tito, because are you gonna throw this up on the Alteryx public gallery?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. We'll see how many hits you get. Maybe you're gonna have the best runs. Everybody's gonna be looking for coffee in their area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Eric, you're joining us actually from Latin America, right? In
Oh
Brazil.
yeah, I'm in
And
São Paulo, Brazil,
nice.
and you should know that Brazil is it is the largest producer of coffee in the world.
Nice. So does that mean like does each individual neighborhood have like their own coffee? And like if you're there and you don't drink that coffee, it's like they got their nose up and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're talking to me."
No, I'd say we have the those large farms and they're producing a lot of coffee, but we usually drink coffee in the morning. It'll be very common.
Nice.
And then when you go to some of the states, then I can share that in the workflow later. For example, at the uh, north from São Paulo, it's another state, Minas Gerais, and they usually
Mm,
drink coffee there. And then they would do something like this. They will always invite you to drink coffee.
yeah.
And if you visit them and you're about to leave, they say, "Oh, it's too early. Wait for another round of coffee." And then
Wow.
it would be polite to wait a little bit more and have
And
another
have
round
another
with
coffee.
them. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's almost like when I went down to Miami, right? Because I go down there sometimes. And the first time I went down there, I didn't realize, like, just like whenever you first start with a workflow, right? Oh, there's that extra step that's there, right? Or like, why does it have to wait a few seconds before I go to the next phase? And we were going for dinner, and I called for reservations, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Miami. It's going to be crazy busy, right? So I said, can I do reservations at 8? And they were like, I guess if you want. I mean, we're not going to be that busy. And I was like, it's Miami. Come on. Like, I'm going to be waiting 2 hours. So we get there, and like nobody was there. The restaurant was empty. And like by the time we had finished our dinner at like 10 o'clock, that's whenever everybody started coming. And so I asked around, and they were like, oh, yeah, did you have your mid afternoon coffee, right? Like after the siesta, then we have the coffee in the middle of the day. And you get a couple pastries, right? With Tito, you use his app and you get things going. And then
That's
by
right.
then you're good until the evening. So you wonder how they stay up so late. It's because they've got some extra coffee in their blood throughout the day. So Eric, speaking of coffee, you've got some cool ones that you wanted to show us, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh, coffee ratings.
let me
Ooh.
share this one. So we're talking about what type of coffee we like, and that's true. I prefer it just the coffee there. And I actually did a kind of course to understand more about coffee a few years ago. And we basically have these two different types of coffee, the Robusta and Arabica. And just let me talk about this data set. We got this one from Kaggle, and that's the coffee quality database. And in here we have the analysis of different types of coffee from different farmers and from different regions. And I'm going to use this one to pick some very nice coffees here in Brazil. So I actually got two files, one with the older Robusta and another one with the Arabica. And let me show you the number of rows as well. Just a few of them with the Robusta type, and most of them are the Arabica. That's the best type of coffee.
Mm,
But we can also have some very nice blends between two of them. For example, when you get the Nespresso, most of them are Arabica, but you can find some of those very nice coffees with the blends. And when I started, I didn't realize in the beginning that I had some different columns here. So the actual ratings, I had different file names here. Oh, sorry, field names here with the aroma, flavor, aftertaste. So we have all these different ways to evaluate the coffee.
nice. I like
And
the fact that clean cup was one of those signs there
oh
on the right.
yeah, they're evaluating everything like they do with the wines. And
Yeah,
actually, I heard about this, and they said the coffee is more complex when you talk about the genes. So you
yeah.
can actually have even you can have more variations than the wine, but of course you have all these the producing steps as well.
Yeah, and I
You,
think that's something that gets super interesting because like one of our favorite ones is actually called Pinyon Coffee.
hmm
And so Pinyon is pine nuts, right? And what they actually do, they incorporate those as part of the roasting process, and it actually makes the coffee a little smoother, and then it gives it like
Oh,
a mild nutty flavor to it.
oh,
Mm.
I
So
see, I see.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like the wine; everything counts. So
it
how
does.
you roast it, the how you grind it, and how do you store it, and even the preparation methods. If you're doing the just regular brew, or you have the espressos, and you have a different types of
Pour overs.
uh,
My wife
brewing
loves pour
process.
overs.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
a very nice experience.
So Eric,
And
what I'm hearing you say is coffee is just like a beautiful workflow, right?
oh
There's
yeah,
some
yeah, everything counts.
exactly
Right.
some good inputs, right?
You need good inputs, then you can do a very nice preparation, and then you have a very nice data set at the end for your insights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm going to reuse it.
Some blending, right? You get some
Yeah.
blending going on. Yeah.
Well, I hope that when I use this analogy, I hope people like coffee. Otherwise, that won't make any sense.
Yeah,
They'll just put some heavy cream on the top, right?
exactly.
Nah, just kill it. Just kill. They just kill the flavor, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, that actually plays in because look, you even have Brandon sharing Eric. He loves the colored boxes, right? So even at that point, that's beautiful in the fact that hey, you can capture people's attention
Mhm.
Hmm.
by utilizing some of these blocking techniques to help others understand the process, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think that's something that's important when we kind of talk about that with data transformation tools, which we haven't touched on much in the show as a whole. Is like, hey, what are some of the ways in which we can be um, more specific around helping others understand what's going on better, right? So in this case, if you have those boxes, it helps call that out right away, right?
Hmm.
And go ahead.
Yeah, and if you use those as a standard in your company or even just with your team, it can also help you understand this workflow faster.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I think
actually, sorry, go
that
ahead.
that's true across tools, right? So a lot of them have these documenting techniques. So like whether
Hmm.
it's containers that you're putting it in, which is what they're called here in Alteryx, right? You have those within other platforms as well. And then as we kind of talk about that, those could even be within nodes, right? So you can cluster the nodes and do some searching and stuff in that manner.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And it
normally.
happens with the tools as well. For example, we have the preparation tools, and they're all these dark blue. And as and Tito was talking about the spatial tools, we also have them here. And there's the other type of green. And when we look for the tools individually, we can know what they're doing. We can get used to the filter tool with this icon here, but as we use the containers and these other type of color codes, it can give you an idea of the step of the whole process that we
Hmm.
addressing with that
Yeah,
part.
what kind of logic you're trying to tackle with a set of
Hmm.
tools. I like to use the comment boxes as well, and then for some of the tools, I'll change the
Yeah, like
annotation.
this one. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I think as we kind of talk about that, right, a lot of times we assume that those comment boxes and stuff are for an end output. And like, hey, I want to share this workflow because it's kind of concluded, right? And I need others to understand the process. Something that I actually love to do because as you start developing more prolifically, right? There's workflows that you forget about that are even your own, right? And
Hmm.
sometimes they're not completed or you had some ideas on how you could revise them. I like keeping like a little running list in the corner where I say, hey, here's the items that I think I could improve in this workflow. Or maybe even sometimes there'll be questions that I have, right? Especially when I'm playing with new tools. So there may be a question that I posed out there in a community, and I'll just put that hyperlink or I'll put the URL to kind of go in and dive in. But the idea there is if someone goes back and answers that question, right, then what I can do is literally take that um, hyperlink, and if I share that workflow with someone, they know, oh, Andrew had a question around maybe how to do an API call or remove his 5,000 limit, right? Because he's coffee crazy here with Tito. And once that question gets resolved, right, how do you make more calls? Well, do you get more keys? Do we just pay for it, right? And then you can kind
Hmm.
of take the workflow from there. Or maybe we're even adding in a database that we need to get set up. So we have a ticket outstanding for that. We can incorporate it in the workflow, or even data science individuals that you're working with, right? So maybe you've got a sophisticated palate with Eric, right? And you want a recommendations engine to figure out what's the next coffee that he should really be exploring, right?
Oh, that would be great, like a recommendation engine. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and one other thing that I love about this, since we're talking about these visual aids, I did a lot of hard coding programming. I was with programming languages, and it's very common. The thing that you mentioned, you need to go back to your work 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years later, and
Mhm.
it could be hard to remember what you did. And those comments, the type of organization, the colors, they're gonna help you to remember what you've done.
yeah,
Yeah, and I also like to include some of the comments related to known issues, because people can ask why you did something that you shouldn't have done. For example, maybe you're using files when you should have connected directly to your database. And I'll put a note there saying I didn't have access at that point.
exactly.
So they'll know, and they'll know how to improve it based on
Yeah.
those notes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even
Yeah.
the air capturing, right? So when you talk about the air capturing, they could be like, these literally 20 of these tools are in here for no good reason. And you're like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's because we fixed everything. It did its job, right?
Right. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Thumbs up.
sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and then because I had those different fields, I used the union tool by the position instead of the field name, and then I just got one single table, and all those grades, all those notes were aligned, the ratings. But then I had some issues, and let me show you. Let me add something here real quick to show you, because I had to clean some of this data. I had some issues with the data later, but I cleaned that back here at the Union tool.
mm,
I had a lot of nulls in one of the key fields, and I prefer to remove that before I went to the next step.
yeah, and whenever we talk about those nulls, like what are some techniques you guys have for handling nulls within data transformation tools?
Well, you could use the data cleanse tool. Data cleanse tool is it's the thing. Every time I'm teaching about macros, I gotta show what the data cleanse tool looks like, because it's a macro that has 3 macros inside the macro, right? Gigantic workflow with all the user interface tools. Or you could use the what is it? It's an imputation tool.
Yeah,
You can you can use a formula tool to, if it's some kind of numeric value, and just trade out your nulls for zeros. Put zeros where you have nulls.
Hmm.
Um,
yeah, and I think imputation is something that you see across platforms, right? So you see that with um, Talon, Tableau Prep, even Trifacta, right? So when we talk about those, there's different ways to handle imputations. So, like as an example, maybe all those nulls, Eric, or literally we could just say black coffee, right? Like
Hmm. Oh
if
yeah.
there's no description, we could just assume it's plain coffee there. And they're
Hmm.
like, what do you mean it's coffee? I don't know what other description I want to give you, right?
Oh yeah.
And
We
then
could fill it with the average of the whole data set, depending of the type of modeling that you're doing.
yeah, yeah, and I think there's that, and there's more sophisticated models, right? So if there were ingredients analysis, because if literally it was just coffee as the ingredient, that'd be pretty straightforward, right? But as Tito highlighted, hey, it has some cream in here, it has a couple other things. What does that really kind of classify it as, right? Maybe it's a mixed drink at that point. It maybe has a
right.
little bit of Bailey's in it, right?
Hmm.
Um, then we know that's more of an afternoon
The
type.
Irish coffee.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly,
I mean, depending what country you're in, what your culture is, it could be a morning thing. I don't know.
exactly, exactly. Or the kind of day you're having, Tito. Could just be the
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
day.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's true.
it could just be that kind of day.
That's
Awesome.
true. And then I just use this type of analysis here, this basic data quality analysis to understand that I had some nulls. And in
Mm,
this case, I just use a filter tool. I didn't have a lot of those. It would be good. I was just looking for a good cup of coffee, and I just ignored those rows. But I did a little bit more investigation here. So I used different techniques. First, with the basic data profile, I was able to get more details about each one of the fields. So the number of known nulls, number of blanks, and so on, average, max value, and so on. But I also used the data health to have an overview of my data set. I actually started with this one because I was looking for this chart, and then I went with the others to get more details, such as this one. I can get more details about each one of the fields, the distribution in each case. Those are very high quality coffee, and they all kind of at the top of the range. But then I was trying to validate that information that I gave about Brazil, that we are one of the top producers, but I wasn't sure about the quality. And we can see Brazil here. We got the best coffee in each one of the countries. And Brazil, it's only the number 5 on this list, but it's 86 is a pretty good rating.
So you can stand on quantity, not quality, huh?
Yeah, yeah. We started with the quantity, and then I just moved to get the max, the best coffee here, the
Mm.
best coffee around.
nice.
But you can see Ethiopia, United States, and Costa Rica first. But we
Mm,
didn't have a lot of those in US, only 9.
Mm.
wow,
But you have good coffee. And
interesting.
yeah, I had another. Uh, I got
Yeah.
these fun facts that in US you spend more than $1,000 in coffee per year per person.
What? Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess I
I
can kind
believe
of
it.
see it.
I
Yeah.
believe it.
I'm like,
I think it's every 2 weeks, my wife buys 2 bags of coffee beans, right? And
Uh-huh.
one is we like the Guatemala and we like French
Hmm.
vanilla because we're frou-frou, I guess. But that Bankhouse coffee that I was talking about earlier, they actually fall under the Coast Roast umbrella, is what they're called. So Coast Roast actually roast their beans down here. And so I'll see people on the local Facebook page, the residents of Long Beach, and they're like, "Man, something is on fire." And somebody else will comment on their post and say, "Are you new here?" And they say, "Why?" Because the Coast Roast, they roast their own beans. So if you smell something, kind of smells like coffee, but also smells like something's on fire,
yeah,
it's probably a Coast Roast.
nice.
Nice.
They actually do that at one of the coffee shops here. They'll even they even do courses where you can bring your own beans and roast them.
Wow.
Oh,
So
really?
it's really sweet. I was actually this weekend I was getting plants because I love plants. And one of the things that they had, Eric, was an Arabica coffee plants. And sadly, I didn't buy one because they said they don't grow as well here. But literally, you can
Oh, I
grow
see.
grow your own beans here, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you can take them there and roast them yourself. So
What would they do
Interesting.
if I rolled up with a bag of pinto beans?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on how much money you got. I don't know what it would do to the machine, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I got a small coffee grinder, but I need to get the beans roasted.
yeah. So what we actually do is we have Vitamix, so we grind the beans fresh and then we throw them in the freezer to kind of keep them
Hmm.
fresh. But literally, we do that basically every week or two. So
Wow.
we'll just
Uh-huh.
grind them, and yeah, Tito, it's like a whole thing. Now do I need to post a video on like
Yeah.
this Instagram or
Did
something, right?
did
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
did I post my, I have a coffee siphon. Have you ever seen those? It's
yeah.
basically a French press in reverse. But my wife actually she grinds beans every time we make a cup. So it's
Oh man.
It's
Nice.
like
So
really
you
fresh,
actually
really
love
fresh.
your coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's more of a coffee connoisseur than I am. I mean, like I said, I like it sweet, a little bit
Uh-huh.
of some kind of cream in there. So it smells like the coffee candies I used to steal from my mom's purse when I was a kid. That's what, that's what
I
that
know
is
which
the
ones you're
flavor.
talking about.
That's the flavor I'm looking for, man. I'm not trying to, smell the. I know that I know there are people that would smell it. Put your nose in there, right? You just put your nose in the coffee cup, and you go, oh yeah, this was slightly acidic soil, and the temperature is around this, low humidity, and like I said, it's picked by some dude that's like 5'8", in his 40s, and all that, and then it was roasted in the
Oh yeah,
morning.
they'll need
Things like,
to do everything to get all these ratings, right? You have the aroma, you have
oh yeah,
aftertaste, the mouthfeel, clean cup.
mouthfeel.
That's a lot of steps.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
that's something that's interesting as we look to the future and IoT sensors, right? So like
Yeah.
you see all the ones that like I watch those Microsoft commercials all the time, right? And they're like, oh yeah, the machines are out here in the farm. And it's funny because Tito, I know you love Star Trek as much as I do. And we were watching Picard last night, and you know what happened? They literally had these little machines flying over, and Picard goes over there and he picks up one of the grapes and he eats it, right? The next thing you know, there's like the little machine going over, and then it just teleports the grapes into the bucket. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, that is cool. I'm like, I can't even imagine. And then sitting there thinking, man, if it did that, Eric, it would just gather all those stats like that, right? And that's the future. Literally, you'd just be like, cha-ching, my crop's worth X right now, right? And that'd be like the freshest crop that you have. It'd just be teleported.
yeah, but the technology doesn't solve everything in the Star Trek universe
Right.
because they have those machines that synthesize things.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah,
But even Picard, he prefers the original
handpicked. Yeah,
hand-picked
Yeah, I was
grapes
gonna
and
say. Yeah, I was.
wine, real wine.
Yeah, because the what is it? The teleporter, whatever. I can't even think of it. It breaks everything down at the molecular level and then sends them as molecules, and then it reconstitutes. So then you're missing something in
yeah.
in translation. So
Maybe
then,
they just didn't have enough data, Tito. They didn't have
yeah,
all these factors here. I mean,
yeah,
they didn't factor in the acidity or what is that, the mouth taste, right?
Yeah.
They
mouthfeel.
need the mouth feel. They need some of that in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then here at the end, I just got the top 10 coffee beans in Brazil, and we can see there. Well, you won't know those regions, but they're concentrated in Minas Gerais. That's
Yeah.
the state north of São Paulo, and you can see they're always around this altitude, 1,200 meters.
Yeah. Eric, I think that may be the reason the coffee doesn't do so well here is because our altitude is pretty low. So
Yeah. What do you like? 3 meters?
yeah.
Pretty low
Yeah,
here in
that's
the
probably
city
about
too.
right because that's where the lake is at. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. All right, guys, as we're kind of wrapping up here, we've got an exciting topic for next week. So if you're joining us for the first time or you've been working with us for a while, we've got art as our next topic with Trayson, right? So I'm kind of curious to see what we do with art. Maybe there's some NFTs on there, some Banksies, right? Who knows what it's going to be? But it'll be interesting to see how data transformation ties into the art world, right? Thank you all for joining us today. Happy Tuesday. And don't forget, we always continue these themes on. So we're really excited to do coffee visualizations tomorrow. So if you've never joined us for 3 charts at 3 p.m., we're really excited to have you there. And then, as always, if you want to be a guest speaker, there's a sign up link in the chat. We would love to have you as a guest speaker here, and you can hang out with Tito, Eric, and I. All right. And thank you, as always, to Data Meaning for letting us do these shows and explore the data transformation world with all of you today. All right. Happy
Thanks,
Tuesday.
everyone.
See y'all.
So.